with me leading trainer Gary Hall Senior. And Gary, I'm looking forward to watching Zenit race for you on Friday night. He was off the scene for 31 months and he's come back and he's won 2 minor races in brilliant fashion. He's drawn the outside of the back line in race 4 on Friday night. Tell us a bit about his history. He's a 6-year-old. He's only had 8 starts for 6 wins.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got a hell of a lot of ability. Ken, he's probably had as much ability as any horse I've trained.
Any horse you've trained?
Yep.
That's a fairly big statement.
Is it? Okay. Well, probably, maybe not quite as much as Chicago Bull and Mighty Quinn, but he's as quick as them.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's very, very quick and he's got a lot of ability. His attitude's not quite as good as that. You can't carry a whip with him. And but he's had 3 bowed tendons and that's been his downfall, really. And, you know, like if he can stand up and get a season of racing into him, I think you'll see a really nice horse. He's capable of winning a good race anyway, put it that way.
So you persevered with him and he was out of action for 31 long months.
Yeah, normally I don't persevere that long. And every time he bowed a tendon, I kept saying that's the last time. But because he's got so much ability, it's you just have to keep trying, I suppose.
And Lauren Jones has retained the drive. She's driven him almost perfectly at his 2 wins this time in. She'll drive him from the outside of the back line on Friday night?
Yeah, I've left Lauren on her because he's not a horse you can drive. You've got to let him just point him in the right and try and steer him and get him in, and sort of kid to him a bit. Lauren's real kind to him. She's worked with him all the time and done all the work, and she ices him after every run, and so that's her reward for looking after him so well.
And
she drives him well, very well.
I think he can win from the outside of the back line. You agree?
I think he can on ability, but I think Maxentius is going to lead and dictate, and I think he'll be very hard to beat. I think if we're close enough to him, we can give it some cheek, but I don't know whether we can get close enough to it to beat it.
In the race after Zenit's race, it's the $50,000 Governor's Cup, and going round again as the champion Chicago Bull. He's drawn barrier 5 with Better's Fire drawn barrier 4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one would suggest that Kyle Harper with Better's Fire will try and steal a march early in the race.
Yeah, you will have a lot of trouble doing that because Ahoka Punter's as quick out as Better's Fire, and 2100 I think we'll try and lead with Ahoka Punter.
Who's drawn barrier 3.
And he's racing in top form, and I believe that he'll be the early leader and he'll be hard to beat.
And Bully, of course, is going to be very hard to beat.
Yeah. I'd like to see Ahoka Punter lead, and I think he'll go well. I think he's crying out to lead in a race, and he's had bad barrier draws, and this is the first time he's drawn where he can actually lead, and I would think that he'd go very good from there.
And one would suggest that Chicago Bull will be put into the race in a fairly early stage.
You think? I don't know whether does he have to really,
Well, he's got enough brilliance to come from a long way back, etc.
Yeah, I don't know. We just, we send him up and send him forward every time. It might be a good race for him. There's only eight in the field. He might be able to lob into the running line, and I'm hoping that Chardon's Rocket might go to the fence and get out of the way so that he can lob in behind Better's Fire and see how he goes from a set. That's what I'd like to see, but anyway, I don't really know.
You've got your nice filly.
That to Junior.
You've got your nice filly Slick Artist in the 3-year-old fillies race, but unfortunately she's drawn out in the river, barrier 8, so she faces a fairly stern task, even though she's racing wonderfully well. Yeah,
she surprised me by winning 2 starts ago in that big race, and she got the line really good, and she is improving. She ran home in 27-1 and again in a weak field on Monday, and I think she's got a lot of speed, and she's getting better with every run. But from that barrier, you'd have to say she'd need a lot of luck. And the only thing is the better horses, I think, better than her are Cot Beach and Lady De La Renta. They haven't drawn all that great either, so it might work in her favour, and maybe she can just camp on them and sweat on them again and see what happens.
You've got I'm a Rock and Roll Legend going round again. He's drawn out wide at barrier 7 in race 3. Were you disappointed with his failure last Friday night?
Not really. Gary and I had a disagreement about his driving tactics, so I think he should have, after how hard he had to work to lead, that he should have held him up and just kidded to him. But he went for the doctor off the back, and he got 2 lengths clear of him, but then he put the cue back in the rack, and I believe that was the wrong move. Gary doesn't, but we'll forever remain at different opinions on that one.
Well, it's good to be able to voice our opinions. We're all individuals, Gary.
Exactly, and I don't like telling him how to drive too much, but I think he made an error on that one.
Can he make a tone? Can he make amends? He's up against Sheer Rock and Roll, a class mare in that race, who's drawn the outside of the front line.
I think he's at his best when he leads and gets away with it, or have a nice run off the fence or something like that. I really don't think he's genuine enough to win that race, no.
And then James Gallion, he's drawn barrier 8 in race 2, so he's just plugging away, isn't he?
Not much. He's just a bad gaited horse that, his last couple of runs have been a bit better and he's working a bit better, and that's a winnable race because of the depth of the field, but I don't know where he's going to get to from there, so I'll leave that one up to Junior again. And
we'll see Zach Maguire racing in a stand?
Yeah, I reckon he's got some hope in that. He's running the Northern Cup, wasn't bad, and he was driven. Gary said he was pulling hard and running and he had to go, and it doesn't suit him to go early. I think if there's a bit of action on and he can get close up to him, he can be a chance, yeah.
Well, all the best on Friday night then, Gary. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, yeah.